Hello everybody, this is Sage Knight. We're going to try something a little different than usual. Going to try doing intros. Um, anyways, on to the story. Novice Swordsman in the Canterlot Court by Dungeon Miner. Chapter 1, A Short Drop and a Sudden Stop. That may be one of my most favorite chapter titles. Alan Williams smashed his alarm clock as it buzzed. He hated the thing. Always had. As usual, he decided to ignore it. Besides, he had 10 minutes left until his phone went off with his "okay, get up this time" alarm. So he could. Suddenly a overly peppy tone cut through the air. Alan groaned. Why was his phone going off? He had always programmed it to go off 10 minutes after his 7:30 wake-up call. Alan's hand went for the phone, and grabbing it, he checked the time. 11:31. Stupid phone. Alan grumbled from underneath the covers. Why did he even set his alarm today? It was Saturday. Saturday. The Saturday starting a long weekend. Alan sat up. A long weekend that he planned to go camping on. Right. That's why his phone was early. Getting out of bed, Alan walked to his bathroom. There next to the sink was a bag filled with all the essentials: deodorant, toothbrush, toothpaste, soap, floss, etc., still open, so he could get to them that morning. After a quick brush of his hair, teeth, and armpits with the requisite tools, he zipped the bag shut and headed back into his room. Grabbing the backpack he had sitting at the door, Alan stuffed the toiletries in it with a fair amount of sloppiness. He then turned to his dresser and pulled out 5 t-shirts and 5 pairs of jeans. Rolling 4 sets of clothes into tubes of cloth, Alan stuffed those into the bag, dressing himself in the last pair. He thought it was a good idea to bring a couple of extra sets of clothes in case he fell into a mud pit or something. He was going into a very thick forest, after all. No idea of what kind of mud puddles that could have been sitting there. With his clothes packed, Alan reached into his closet and brought out a belt of his, a thick leather belt that had been tanned for exactly this kind of trip. He began to loop the belt through his jeans. A song popped into his head. Winter wrapper. Alan had never memorized the rest of the words, so he settled for a mix of alliterations and hums that came to his mind. Yes, Alan was a brony. Admittedly, relatively new brony, having not even reached season 2, but brony nonetheless. He really needed to see those. He then berated himself for not having enough free time to dedicate to the show, but this camping trip was going to be awesome. Slipping 2 seats onto his belt, one for a knife with a 7-inch blade, and the other for 3 throwing knives. It had been a while since he had thrown last, but this was an excellent opportunity to get some more practice in. As he buckled the belt, Alan came to the bottom of his mental checklist. Water, food, flashlight, rope. Anything else? Well, his flashlight was right there, next to his bed. Possibly oversized maglite that could have probably doubled as a hammer. Throwing that into the bag, he then reached back into the closet and brought out a coil of rope, 25 feet to be exact. Tossing that in, Alan moved his bag into the kitchen of his 4-room apartment. Opening one of the cabinets, he proceeded to stuff 4 whole boxes of granola bars into his bag. That, along with 2 small bags of trail mix and some microwave meals. Finally, he opened the fridge, grabbed 3 plastic bottles of water, as well as a metal canteen. He was honestly hoping for a spot near a creek, but those were a little hard to find in Georgia, so he had to make sure he had something. Going through the checklist again, he finally convinced that he wasn't forgetting anything, grabbed his keys, and headed out the door. With a twist, door locked, and It was finally just Alan, his bag, and the great outdoors. Once he got there, he walked through the apartment complex he lived in, going down the stairs and around the building until he came to the parking lot. There, he came out to his car, a 2000 Ford Contour, and unlocked. Throwing his backpack into the passenger seat, he pulled out of the parking lot and drove off, pulling onto the main street that ran past his apartment. Alan realized he did forgot something: breakfast. With a growl of his stomach, Alan decided that he might as well begin his camping trip with a camping breakfast. Opening his backpack with one hand while trying to keep his eyes on the road, he searched for one of the previously packed boxes of granola. Finding one without too much difficulty, he was now tasked with opening the box. Man, getting breakfast while driving at 50 miles per hour was such a hassle. Well, there was a red light up ahead. He could get it then. In the meantime, he needed something to do to keep his mind off his stomach. Music. That was always a good answer. Playing a CD titled Awesome, Alan immediately went straight to track 5 and was greeted with a techno beat, briefly wondering why he bothered putting those other 4 tracks on the CD. He began to tap the wheel as one of his favorite songs' choruses came up. Oh Luna, won't you cry for me? I'm lonely as I ever been. I am forced back into start. Is there any way to fix a broken heart? Arguably favorite princess. Speaking of the Lunar Queen, he did hope she would actually show up in season 2. He had always been a night owl and liked to look at the stars and such. It was actually one of his main reasons that he decided he should go camping. It was just him and the wilderness, nothing to distract him except his iPod, which he kept with a battery-powered charger for an alarm clock. But that was it. No other technology. It was the light. Green. Alan scored. Of course, he muttered to himself. The one time you want a red light, and it's green. Ugh, need more music. After driving for 2 hours, Alan pulled up to the woods. It was on a hardly used road, had just enough space to fit his car, so it neither took space in the road or ran into any trees. Reaching into his glove compartment, he pulled out a pen and post-it note, flipped the note, and wrote it under the accessories. To whom may it concern, this car is part on public property and shall remain here between the dates of 05/26/18 of 2012. If this car is still packed in this location beyond those dates, send a rescue party. Satisfied with his note, he pushed it against the windshield so it would stick to the glass. With nothing left to do, he grabbed his bag and headed out into the woods. It had taken quite a while to find a public wood that he could go camping in, but this weekend would be totally worth it. Going straight into the woods, first thing he encountered was Akuza, the famous vine that was swallowing the South. If he ever got his hands on the guy who bought this stuff, Alan might have to go to jail. Love and tolerance could take a back seat to the hours he spent trying to get through no less than 3 root balls the size of his computer tower. Luckily, this wasn't his land or his mother's land, for that matter, or his uncle's or anything. With that happy thought in mind, Alan reached for the 7-inch blade at his side. He used it as a makeshift machete, slicing the hated vine into more than 5 tiny sections. He would have done more, but he needed to get a campsite. Wiping the blade on his jeans, he cleaned the knife, keeping it out for a little while longer before sheathing it. Satisfied he had a clear path. The forest was a total mess, truly a biologist's nightmare. Vines as thick as his wrist climbed to the green canopy above, where old broken branches clung to their living stumps, held only by the same vines that had killed them. There were vines that snaked along the ground, thorns just a little shorter than his thumb. There wasn't vines that, there was just vines. Terrible thing in Georgia, the vine. Suddenly, Alan's eyes spotted the telltale sign of a blackberry bush, still a little peckish from the lack of breakfast food. He was quick to take stock by the bush. Merely, it was a little early for berry season. yet, but Alan was not disappointed to see a small handful of early bloomers. Picking a few berries, he was impressed with the sweetness in a few of them, surprised by the bitterness of the others, but it was all good food. Taking note of the bush, Alan continued on his way. Working his way through the tree underbrush, Alan made his way deeper into the woods, hoping to get at least a mile in before lunch. It wasn't long before he came across the ravine. It wasn't overly deep, nor was it so wide he couldn't jump across. Thought of jumping across occurred in his mind as an epic movie scene, something with gunshots and explosions as he raced through the woods. Or maybe it was like that scene in the Skyrim trailer where the Dovahkiin was running up to the edge of the cliff, stopped inches away before plummeting to his death. Or maybe it's closer to the trench warfare in the First World War, where the hero would have let over a German trench, lobbing a few grenades beneath him in the midst of the Germans, killing them all before they even had the chance to yell "Sneal." Of course, by the time those sequences went through his head, he had already dropped down into the ravine and was heading up the other bank. Maybe he'll come back to this ravine later, but as right now, he still needed a place to sleep. He climbed up the red clay, looking for handholds in the bank. He couldn't help but smile as he said, "I can't carry it for you, Mr. Frodo, but I can carry you." He then shook his head. "I'm such a geek." Actually, now he thought about it, the red clay didn't really fit Mordor. Mordor was more arid, rockier, drier, desertier. Now at the top of the bank, Alan pauses for a moment to let his brain finish whatever fantasy it was currently running through. The thought took a little longer than he had previously judged, and was beginning to bore himself as he stood there. Suddenly, the clay beneath his foot crumbled away, and he felt himself again fall. His arms fell about wildly, looking for something to steady himself. Grabbing air, his hands flapped madly, reaching for anything to hold on to. A cry escaped Alan's lips as he did his best to shift his body back onto stable ground. No such luck. Alan yelled as he fell backwards into the ravine, shutting his eyes as he braced for impact. And his brace. Okay, I'm no physicist. Pretty sure I should have hit the ground by now. Alan risked opening a single eye and was greeted with a catastrophic light show. Oh, that's not good. Now immediately, this was not what Alan thought a concussion would look like, but he wasn't sure what else it could be. I must have fallen pretty hard for me not to feel the impact. That probably means I went straight into unconscious. Wow, that's a first. I've never been unconscious before. I always thought it would be more like sleep though. The lights were a breathtaking mix of greens, blues, and purples that spiraled around him with red bursts of light exploding at random intervals. A green shaft of light flashed by Alan continuously fell through this whatever it was. Hallucination, maybe? Suddenly, something that looked like a DeLorean flew by, passing his field of view for the briefest second. The car was then followed by something that looked like a carriage with a long clock face on it. Was followed by a hot tub of all things. Okay, why are there a ton of time machines in my fall-induced hallucination? Well, at least the guitarist had made a bit. Old blue British police call box spun across his view. Never mind. The fall lasted for another few seconds like this, complete with light show and time-traveling movie references, but everything seemed to be slowing down for some reason. It was so odd. Suddenly, the light show and the void disappeared, only to be replaced by a pastel ceiling. Thud. Alan's head snapped against the tile of the floor, sending blind flashes of light and pain across his eyes. The cardboard in his backpack had been crushed beneath his weight. He was sure at least one water bottle had also burst, leaving everything he had packed wet. He wondered if his flashlight would be okay. Speaking of, that was probably the thing that was pressing really hard against his spine. Groaning, Alan rolled over, sliding out of his backpack, getting a very good look at the tile floor made of pure white marble tiles that exceptionally hard. to his right. Now that he was on his stomach, the white gave way to a checkerboard pattern on the side, as well an accent to the walls, which, if this one he was looking at was any indicator, both were very tall and very ornate. This one wall had 6 windows, which stretched from the floor to the ceiling, and a very high ceiling it was. Actually, that wall kind of looked familiar. Why, what's in the haze that? Alan froze. He knew that voice. That voice was Eliza Ball's voice. The voice at this particular celebration was that of the down-to-earth farm pony named Applejack. Alan slowly turned his head to the source of the voice. Blinked. Not one, but 9 ponies were standing in the middle of the room. 2 guards standing next to the near all-powerful Princess Celestia, and the main 6: Applejack, Rainbow Dash, Pinkie Pie, Rarity, Fluttershy, and Twilight Spark. Each one of them looked at Alan with a mix of shock and confusion on their face. Even the guards seemed a little intimidated by his sudden appearance. They all stood looking straight at him. 9 fictional characters from a TV show. Fictional. He sat up slowly, putting his back to the wall, looking straight into the eyes of the night equine, each staring at him bewilderment. A look Alan was sure he was mirroring. The lavender unicorn that was standing in front of the group, which Alan instantly recognized as Twilight Sparkle, blinked before replying, "I don't know." First, the yellow Pegasus that had been at the back of the group suddenly disappeared behind her friends, attempting to hide, even though her light pink mane and tail gave away her position. Pinkie Pie, the pink pony that was in the middle of the group, went oddly silent, especially being the pariah Alan knew she was. Rainbow Dash, the cyan Pegasus with the namesake colored mane, suddenly threw herself for her friend in a protective gesture. Alan noticed it wasn't particularly hostile, but very defensive. Rarity, the white unicorn, was dressed in a long flowing gown of green and blues. Alan imagined that she thought it was only fitting for gain an audience with princesses, even though everyone else came as they were dressed only in their thick fur. Applejack was the only other pony wearing anything. A Stetson cowboy hat. Pony hat? Millie stared at Alan before saying, "Well, I don't know either." Alan turned his attention to the guard. They both wore the golden armor that was standard for the Royal Guard, or at least he assumed was standard issue. They both had perfectly white coats for attention, their faces being the only thing that broke their discipline. Finally, there stood the princess of the day herself, the immortal half-Pegasus, half-unicorn being that was responsible for raising the sun each day. Her corner of the mane flapped and turned in the unfelt wind, and her single visible eye was wide with shock. Fictional. Alan laughed. The ponies recoiled at the sudden outburst, expecting some evil force or delight. Only Celestia remained silent, staring at him with her wide eye. "Well, looky here," Alan shouted sarcastically. "I seem to have stopped existing." He laughed more. "Last stop, Insanity Station. All aboard." Alan continued to laugh. The ponies all looked at each other, searching for some sort of clue to take for action. All but Celestia, who stared at the human. Alan laughing died. He began murmuring himself. "All right, Alan, what happened? You were walking in the woods. Well, now you're in a place that doesn't exist. Question at that. What brain? Couldn't get me to Middle Earth? Yes, I get it now. This is some sort of concussion-induced hallucination. I may be in a coma, and my brain is so bored it stuck me in Canterlot to see what I would do. Yes, that's it, obvious." He laughed again. "Welcome to Crazy City. Population, me." The main 6 backed away just a touch, and the guards hesitant took a step forward. Celestia did not move. Alan then noticed, continuing to ramble. Well, I suppose this is my subconscious revenge for getting into the show to begin with." He chuckled, smiling. "Probably should have played more Skyrim or something." He laughed again, before moaning, "Oh, I'm going insane." Twilight spoke up, probably driven by curiosity, to ask, "Are you alright?" Alan snickered. "Oh no, nothing's wrong. I'm just in a cartoon. My sanity is dropping by the second. I'm actually having a conversation with a pony. Nothing wrong at all," he whimpered. "I am in a cartoon. I am in a stinking cartoon. a cartoon titled Of All Things, My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. He dropped his head into his hands. I'm crazy. I'm so far gone. If I ever recover from this coma, I'll need a straitjacket. Alan roared, slamming his head into the wall behind him repeatedly. Why? I just wanted to go on a camping trip. Alan roared again, a tear threatening to leak from his eye. His mother has always said he lived in a fantasy world. She would yell at him while he RPG'd online with his friends. Well, he definitely was now. Was this what happened to him? Had he been so encaptured by fiction that his subconscious had no other choice than to place him here? Had the line between fantasy and reality faded so much that his brain had accepted as such? Was he already crazy before he fell into this coma? He had always thought he was a little weird. Heck, he liked My Little Pony. But he never thought he was full on crazy. The pain in the back of his head got his inner survivalist working. If he could feel pain, then that meant he could hurt himself, and other things could hurt him. Subconscious humiliation, losing pain, or otherwise. With that in mind, it might be possible for him to die, which of course meant he had to take everything seriously while keeping in mind any and all possible consequences of such action or inaction. He couldn't jump out of the window because he wasn't sure if the fall would kill him or not, and it was always best to err on the side of safety. Yes, this really helped define the lines between, didn't it? The word consequences suddenly came up to the forefront of Alan's mind, waving a red flag. The words seemed to light up wires that had temporarily lost their meaning. He should be afraid of something right now. That's it, other than the fact he's just sewed up in Celestia's throne. Oh crap. Celestia, the most powerful being in this entire world, had been in the middle of a meeting, and he just had fallen on her. True, everything he knew about the princess screamed merciful and fun-loving, but she still had to be treated with respect. His eyes snapped open and went straight to the outer corner. Princess Celestia, I'm sorry for this. I don't know I don't know how this happened. I'm so sorry. This was one big misunderstanding. I'm a nobody. I don't even mean anyone any harm. Celestia blinked, probably for the first time since Alan had seemingly fallen through her ceiling. She blinked again before taking a conscious but confident step forward. How do you know my name, human? Alan's brain wasn't working right. He knew at that precise moment, instead of doing the smart thing and answering the stupid question, he was more caught up in the idea of Celeste knew what he was. Had the fanfics been right? Had there been a lost civilization of humans at one point or another? What had been their relationship with Equestria? Oh, I hope it was a good one. Alan opened his mouth to say, of all things, how you know where I am, instead of answering the question should have, but it was interrupted before he could get the first word out. Two golden ornate doors of the throne flew open, and two ponies entered. A brown earth pony with an hourglass tuning mark, and the other a gray Pegasus with crossed yellow eyes. Alan instantly recognized them as the famous Doctor Who's and Duffy Who's. He was both overjoyed and shocked to see them. Overjoyed because they were both his favorite background ponies and shipping pair. Shocked because Duffy seemed to be wielding something that looked like a bazooka. Eat muffin, space monster! Duffy yelled, firing the weapon as he held it in her hooves. Alan only briefly wondered what she meant by that. Of course, he understood rather quickly when a blueberry baked good smashed into his face. The muffins hit surprisingly hard, even though it was very squishy and fresh from the oven. So hard, in fact, he almost missed the doctor say, Duffy, stop! That's not a garlic! It was then the hell broke loose. The guards, torn between the horror of this new creature and the sudden appearance of a muffin-based weapon, threw themselves at the human and Grey Pegasus, one for each, and tackled them into the ground. The doctor, seeing his poor cross-eyed pony Pen, galloped to the guard, throwing his weight against him in an attempt to free her. Twilight, being ever so cautious, ran to her mentor and began to ask the princess any questions she could think of. What's a human? Is that a human? Where did he come from? Where did he come from? Is he, in fact, a he? Rainbow Dash, seeing the fight taking place, instantly threw herself into the fray between the guard pony and the human, smashing into Alan's back with her hoof. Applejack followed suit, ramming the doctor as he tried to free the Pegasus. Rarity, shocked at the display, took shelter behind the princess and was almost surprised to see Fuzzy already there. Pinkie Pie, seeing this new chaos, did the thing that most came naturally to her. She laughed her flank off. Somehow, in the middle of the fray, both fights met up and formed in its own battle royale. Hooves flew at 6 points, and a confused human rolled in a fight that seemed like death. Alan bumped against mane, wing, armor, and fur as he was thrown about melee, doing his best to keep from drawing his knife for fear of making things definitely worse for himself. A hoof smacked him across the head, sending another white flash of pain across his vision, before another smash into his gut, threatening to make him eject his meager breakfast. Enough! A royal voice yelled. Instantly the fight stopped. The cartoon ponies could only stare at their princess as her mane fell into an inferno. Just as quickly as the flame died, the calm demeanor returned. She then gave a polite cough. Every pony lined themselves up in some sort of resilient order. The guards returned to their posts, while Rainbow, Applejack, Dot Hooves, and Duffy stood at attention before her, leaving Alan still on the floor, coughing up dust. Now, my little pony, Celeste began, I want everyone to calm down and remain silent while I ask my questions. Understood? Every pony nodded. Good. Now, human, since you already know who I am, perhaps you will do me the honor of introducing yourself? Alan dazed. Let a second of silence pass before answering. Alan, Your Highness, Alan Williams. Celeste nodded. Wonderful. It is a pleasure to meet you, Sir Williams. It seems to me that you're experiencing an advanced form of culture shock. Is that correct? Well, Your Highness, it is not incorrect. Celestial nodded again. I see. Then, as of right now, I would like to dismiss you until tomorrow, where I will have every pony explain themselves in full. Lieutenant Patrons? Yes, Your Highness, one of the guards asked. Is please escort Sir William to the guest chambers. Any one of them that have been reserved for the noble will do. Yes, Your Highness. Answer any questions he may have, no matter how trivial, and see that he has something to eat later today. He has full access to the royal kitchen, and will not hear any complaints from copper pots. Am I understood? Yes, Your Highness. Very good. Now, Twilight, she said, addressing her student. Yes, Princess? It seems you and your friends will be staying a while longer. If you wish, you may follow Sir Alan, but please respect his space. Do not ask any questions about how he got here. I wish to hear that first, and I wish for Luna to be with me when I do. Understood? Yes, Princess. I will have rooms made available to you as soon as I can, Celeste said before turning to the doctor and the Pegasus. You two will also be given rooms. You will be giving an explanation of your behavior towards the human tomorrow, but as right now, I do not want to hear it, nor do I think the human wishes to discuss it. She then leaned very close to the two intruding ponies, and I trust you will be on your best behavior. The doctor chuckled nervously. Yes, of course, Your Highness. Simple misunderstanding is all. We'll be on our very best behavior. Won't we, Duppy? Duppy rolled her eyes, aligning them. I told you you were overreacting. Yes, Your Highness. Perfect behavior. Celeste nodded. That is good to hear. Now, said standing to her full height, facing the entire audience, you may leave, and please enjoy your stay in Canterlot. That have been the first chapter of A Novice Swordsman in the Canterlot Court. I hope you have enjoyed the story. Please leave a like and a comment. Before we call it quits for the day, let me quickly read you the author notes. In my opinion, one of the best highlights of Dungeon Miner's works are his author notes. Well, there you guys go. First chapter of A Novice Swordsman in the Canterlot Court. This is the part of the story where I ask for criticism, comments, and the psst. Criticism, comments, and the psst. Oh no. You know, Pinky, it's normally a policy of mine not to taught to my characters in writing.
Not one of your characters. I'm Laura's.
Noted. Is there something you wanted?
Yepperoni. Two things, actually. First, why oh why are you writing a human and equestrian story? Aren't they overdone and boring? And B, why I haven't said anything yet, or thrown a party, or given a pony a hug, or made Alan smile, or eaten a cupcake, or...
Yes, Pinky, I get it. To answer the first question, I'm writing this because I think most HIE stories are too quick to fall into the whole "this is so awesome" stage without getting a good job at the "why this happened to me, why I can't leave" angle. There are 5 stages to loss, but everyone skips steps anyway. I plan to change that with this story. Secondly, you haven't done anything yet, because I don't want you to ruin anything.
What?
Oh no, not like that, Pinky. It's just you see, Alan's read fanfiction, and if you break the fourth wall and talk to me or the readers in the story, you'll make Alan see that he's a character, and that would make him feel bad.
Really?
I don't want you hurting his feelings or ruining any surprises. Is all.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to let you know that first before I unleash you into the fit, so that everything goes by smoothly. Okay?
Okie dokie dokie.
You'll have a cupcake to make you feel better. And then Pinky saw before her a cupcake, but a cupcake unlike any before seen. It was perfect. The perfect amount of frosting, the perfect amount of sugar, the perfect amount of chocolate. It was immaculate.
For me?
But as long as you don't talk directly to me in the story, and always refer to the readers as the audience, it will make Alan think you're talking to people watching TV. Pinky looked at the cupcake, silent for a very long time, especially for her, before turning her head towards you.
Tell Dutchman he has a dear audience, since I can't tell him myself. Now, if you excuse me, this cupcake and I have some quality time to catch up upon.
Yeah, so anyways, criticism, comments, and the like, I will love your feedback, and please, all questions will be answered in the story, unless they don't relate, or if it's supposed to be a mystery. Thanks for reading so far. Bye!